You're going to get 3 rolls on the tower, and whatever I roll, that's what we start with.
Okay, perfect.
Can you give us one audition high and then also an audition low and tell us what you learned from that low?
I could say my high was when I was auditioning for Utopia. At first, the director wasn't going to be there, and I think maybe even Gillian wasn't going to be there, and it was so important to me, and I was manifesting the shit out of this show. And I've never been this bold before, but I asked, I was like, I'm not stepping in that room unless every single person is there. We're going to have one time, and this is what's going to happen. I'm not going to give them any room to leave or to think about things. And I walked into that audition, and everyone was sitting there, and there's usually the camera you're supposed to, you know, do your scenes towards, and someone's just reading it to you. But I just looked the director directly in the eye, basically. And I basically was like, I'm just going to hypnotize you with my eyes so you can't think of any other person to play this role. My low, I think, I mean, I guess like obviously in the beginning, I could tell I forgot what I was auditioning for, but it just, I think it was Spider-Man, to be honest. And this was a long, long time ago. And I was not audition ready. I was still, and especially not Marvel ready. You know, I'm more of like the eyes and, you know, the subtleties, and Marvel is the opposite of that. And I remember just being in that room, and I was like, they were like, oh, could you just like more energy, more up and more, you know, vocal, and yeah, no, that wasn't me. I knew right away. I was like, yeah, that was a cute little experience, but not
for what it's worth, you found a really good fit in the MCU. I love that world, and I love the opportunities you have with that character. We'll get into that. I love looking at someone's trivia page and seeing the super random facts there are about someone, but yours is like a little limited. So if you got the opportunity to add like a real out of left field fact about yourself to that page, what would it be?
I love Twix, the candy, but I don't know if it's like, I have like these weird like superstitions about a lot of things, and I will only eat the left bar. Like if someone's handed one to me, they've like gotten me Twix because they know how much I like them, and it's been the right one, and I've just been like, I love a kid, but I can't eat it. I can only eat the left.
I understand that thinking, but I also feel like that's making you a really great person to eat candy with, because there's always the right bar to give to a friend.
This is true. I won't buy it though, so you'd have to get it because I can't even touch it. So
okay. Down. When we get to talk in person, I'll split a Twix with you, and I won't let you touch that right bar. Hello, everyone. Welcome back for a brand new edition of Collider Ladies Night. I am so thrilled to welcome Sasha Lane to the show for Conversations with Friends, and you also have so many other cool projects we're going to get to talk about today. Hello. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have a really interesting and like super cool story about getting into the business. So can you walk us through the reality of what it's like just randomly out of the blue being approached by a director while you're just enjoying your spring break?
It is random. I like remember it vividly, almost as if I was outside of my body, because I was just walking along the beach with my friends, and I could just hear someone yelling out to me, and here go this lady in a cowboy hat and overalls with a London accent. I think immediately she was like, I have this film that I really want you to be on, and it's spring break. I'm in a bikini. I'm just like, okay, what is this? You know, what's going on here? And then Amy, who's my manager now, she was also there, and she had this really sweet tone, and they were just telling me about my spirit and how they saw me, that they were watching me, which I also kind of was like, that's a bit creepy as well, but sure. And the fact that they asked to come to my hotel that night, which I never thought they would. And then my friend ended up like doing improv with me, and I'm like screaming about how she slept with my boyfriend and she's pregnant. We were doing this weird stuff that I've never done before, and people were walking up the hotel just like, oh, that's crazy, drama. And then I'm just putting my suitcases in her car. It's just, I don't know how I did that. I would never do that now. I would never tell someone to do it. When people ask me, you know, what's your advice? I'm like, I would never tell you to hop into a stranger's car and invite her to your hotel. And go say, yes, I'll be in a movie and finish up college and leave. I don't know what to tell people about that. It just happened.
I was reading that the reason why you trusted them is because you trusted their vibe. But can you get a little more specific about what it was about that vibe? Because, like you just said, like you left college for this opportunity. You let them in your hotel. So, what was it about that vibe that said to you, these are good people to connect with right now?
I was in a really low place when I was in college, and I was struggling. And, I heard voices. That's just a part of, schizoaffective disorder. You hear voices, all that kind of stuff. And they were mean. They were always really mean. And I just one day, a week before that trip, something told me, and it was the nicest voice, like the nicest one I've ever heard. And it was just like, just hang on. There's going to be something. There's going to be something. And so then a week later to be there and them talking to me about a movie and how it's actually real. And, Andrea showed me all the logistics of it. Something in my gut was just settled, even though it was the craziest thing I could have done and it was super wild. There's nothing you can deny about the fact that you're just calm and you feel right. Nothing was screaming at me to run and whatever. And then I remembered that voice, and it's just like, it's so bizarre that you're kind of like, why not? Like, why would I not go with what my gut is telling me?
I was always told, like, when you make your first feature, make sure you have something in your back pocket or a plan so you're able to use the momentum from that first special something to take your next step. So what was it like after American Honey came out and then wrapped up? What were the key next steps that you wanted to take? And then how did that pan out? Did it meet your expectations?
Well, to be honest, I didn't have any expectations. I was in a really weird zone of figuring out what a film meant. It meant that you make something and then everyone leaves and carries on with their lives. And that was really, really hard for me to process. I was like, what do you mean, Andrea, you're making another film without me? What do you mean? And all these people went back home. And so I was kind of lost there, but it was the producer, Lars, who told me, he's like, I really think you should give this a shot. I think you should continue. He's like, there's something there. I think you should try to meet with an agent and go to LA. And that was not what I was expecting. Even though I had just done the film, I wasn't tempting to be an actress or anything. So I had a few conversations with Riley after we were filming, and I was asking her, like, do you really think I should do this? Like, I don't know. And she's the one who kind of convinced me that I should just move to LA and see how it goes.
Were there any kind of lulls after you moved out there when things weren't quite going to plan? And how did you pull yourself out of them and keep focus on, what you wanted to do long term and coming to the conclusion that, like sometimes this stuff takes time?
I was doing some auditions and I wasn't really the best at auditions. And every time I went to one, it seemed like all they wanted to talk about was Andrea's process. It almost seemed like they were trying to get everything from me to make their own films. But if they used me, then it would be American Honey. So that was kind of this weird predicament I was in where they wanted to speak with me and all that, but they wanted to make their own version. So I couldn't be in the films. And I was starting to get really down because, I didn't have as much money and I was staying with my friend and I was like, I promise I'll get out of here soon. And she was really encouraging and said, I know you're working hard, don't worry about it, which was really nice. But there was a big chunk of just, I wasn't getting any auditions. I wasn't getting any of these roles and I felt really used and kind of like, what am I doing here? But I think the weird thing that actually kept me there was not for my passion of acting. I just started and it wasn't what I wanted or thought I would have. So my thought is if this doesn't work out, then it's not meant to be and I'll just go back to Texas. I wasn't out there to like, this is my last everything as most people do. I kind of was like, if this is not meant to happen in my life, then it's not meant to happen and I'm going to go back. LA's not even my place. I just stayed in my zone and then eventually did get a project and it did work out. And it was just a lot of faith and also a little bit of, I'm not going to kill myself over this if it's not meant to be.
What felt different about the Loki audition versus what you went through on Spider-Man where like something clicked and it paved the way to you booking a role in the MCU?
I didn't audition, so that probably helped. That was
you deserve it. You deserve
yeah.
it.
But you know what was great is I don't know. I don't think no, I didn't. But what was great was I had just given birth a couple months before I got the opportunity. I was out shooting a music video, I think, in New York, and I got the call about it. And I was ended up talking to Kate, the director, and she was telling me a little bit about the universe and what she wanted to do with it. And it felt like this kind of underground version of Marvel, which I was like, all right, you know, if I can be in something like this, and this is more where I fit in, you know, this is how I can jump into this world. And the fact that she wanted me in the first place and it meant a lot to her got me excited. And I just started auditioning again, and there was just something in me that was like, you know what? Okay, I just had a kid. I want to get back into it. What a cool way to go about it. And I was just honored at that point. I was like, me? Like, you really want me? Okay. Which I guess was a huge leap from sitting in that audition room, just like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Let's get into conversations with friends now. So I've got to imagine that there's like 1,000,001 reasons to get involved in a project like that. But was there anything in particular about the series that I guess maybe made you think like, this is the right type of project for me to tackle right now in my career, or maybe for you personally?
It had been a while since I'd read anything that I genuinely liked. And, you know, also then we had the pandemic and I had my kid. There was a lot of factors that it was like, if it's worth it and if it's going to be this long, it has to really be worth it. And I didn't want to do anything just to get out of the house, which I desperately wanted to be out of the house, but I didn't want to just take anything. But when I read the book and immediately I felt really attached to it. I felt really attached to Bobby because I knew exactly what I wanted to bring to her, which was a big deal for me that I already was planning out the character in my head. And then Lenny, having the conversation with Lenny and knowing what he did with Room. And if you can direct a child to deliver such a performance, to me, that you have to have a big heart. You have to have a lot of patience and, understanding and, you know, a softness to you. And to do a role like this, I felt like it was an incredible kind of opportunity for me. And I really wanted to work with him and I felt very safe. And when you have someone like that, it just, for me, speaking to a director is the second thing I do after seeing if I like the script or not. Because if the director's not as passionate or he doesn't care as much or, you know, they're just like, yeah, this is cool, but it's like that's 6 months of my life, especially now. After that conversation with him, I was sold and I really, really wanted it.
Let's talk a little bit about your co-cast here. In particular, Allison, because I'm sure she's a pro and knows what she's doing. But with you having had the experience of being like a newcomer, completely fresh, stepping on a set early on, is there anything anyone did for you, you know, on American Honey or one of those first projects that like you knew you had to do for someone else getting their first screen credit so that, you know, they could feel comfortable and make the whole thing not so scary?
Yeah, I will always go back to, and I even messaged Riley the other day. Riley, it's funny because we weren't allowed to really talk to each other when we were filming because we were supposed to hate each other. So I didn't get to know Riley till the very end, which was wild. But she became like a sister to me. And I remember so many times when that struggle period, you know, she would just remind me that like, one, you're 20 years old. It's okay. And also she would tell me little tidbits about events and, you know, about press and how they try to get you to say more, just like little tricks up your sleeve and kind of give me a little background info on certain things we were doing. She's the only reason I actually stayed on the plane on the way to Cannes because I was like, get me off now. I'm not doing this. I don't want to know. She's talked me out of completely dipping. She kept me on red carpets because my anxiety, I was about to run off. And, you know, she was my anchor and I could trust her and she had done it before and, you know, and so well. And so for me, it was like paying that due back to Allie because I deeply care about her and I do know what it feels like. And she is her own person. And I obviously I want her to find her own ways. But if she has someone, if I can be her rock and in her, you know, handhold through it all and someone she can vent to and we can laugh about the craziness of it all, then I absolutely want to be that person for her because it meant a lot to me.
I gotta let you go, but huge congratulations on Conversations with Friends and everything you've accomplished. I can't wait to see more from you, but in particular, young Hunter just hiding behind a rock in the MCU somewhere in the future.
I hope you see that. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.